Yeah, yeah, my company pronounced Vyvyd. First of all, if no, everybody cannot. It was I thought about naming Vivian, but instead of I pronounced using a Y, so it's a Vyvyd Lighting. So here are the main. I don't know if because everybody's throughout the world right now in the States, but these are the main vendors and architect and interior designer, especially to design here. You can see these are the main people we're working with. So we are a lighting manufacturer that we believe that in Toronto, with our design services can help architect and interior designer to produce a better work to help them to enhance their portfolios and works. Just to show you some of the award recently we got. Sorry, there's some echoing. So this is a NEMA that we got from ASID, and Peter is the main as a interior designer for this project. And this is Peter. Do you want to talk about a little bit about this? How we get this job started, Peter?
I think you need to tell how you work with the designer for the lighting.
Yeah.
So what's the secret of this interior? Where's the lighting? Where's the hiding? Or what's the purpose?
Right. Yeah.
Tell your experience. Share your experience. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna jump into that real quick. But yeah, so like this project, we got it from Peter, and then he got this request from the client, and they want to create a Michelin levels of a fine dining restaurant, and one of the biggest requests is that they don't want to see any glare, and but at the same time has to be well lit. So we're gonna move forward and tells you about what's our design process in a bit. And this is also another job for the Real Frugality. We did it in the Yorkdale Mall in Toronto. And we're gonna go through all these design process in a bit. Okay, and this is also from another job for DJ Studio Design. It's also a retail. We got a Muse Award. Okay, so in terms of lighting, what's the importance of architectural lighting is that in lighting in the whole construction in terms of interior design, is the budget in terms of whole total project cost is probably about 5%. Okay, and so you're gonna use least amounts of money to get the most amount of benefit, right? And lighting is very important that if you do it right, it's just gonna become the project is gonna become so well lit. But if you do it wrong, it's gonna it's gonna destroy the whole project. So if if the lighting done right, everything's just gonna look nice, right? And so, but the thing is about lighting is that the good lighting is just doesn't just really just happens. It really has to be strategically designed and in terms of the placements and the moves and so on. So we're gonna quickly jump into that. So how I learned from the lighting design really is actually from a little bit of theatrical background. The most ideal lighting design is probably gonna look like this. So you're gonna have the backstage, a bunch of lightings going on, right? But in the reality that in the dining restaurant, you're not gonna see all the light source projectors and all the we call it graphers in the background to light up the stage. So interior design, architectural lighting, it is quite challenging. If we look at, for example, this La La Land scene, that it looks just very natural, but in fact, in the background, this is how they shot the whole scene. Okay, so there's lots of things going on here. You have all the ambient lights going on, and you have a nice skylight casting down, right? So the good design, a good lighting design, it should be felt but not really noticed. So what it really means by that is that the good lighting design, it should hide, conceal light source. You shouldn't really notice the light source. For example, the glare, the scallop, the beam shape, right? It should really blends into the architectural features and your subjects. Okay, and this is one of the project we did in Taiwan. Yeah, so this will be, so these both example will be a hotel reception lobby, right? So as you can see, this, that, you see the big scallop here. So these are that you start noticing the light, right? So you see the big scallop is very distracting. You're not paying attention to the material itself, right? And as you can see here, everything is very nicely lit, but not distracting at the same time. Okay, and this will be another example in terms of, especially our gallery, that a bad example will be something like this. You see that big halo scallop. You're not really paying attention on the artwork itself. It should be nicely blended in and smooth it out, right? The whole attention should be on subject, not the wall, not the light, right? And so when I comes to a client, when they comes to me that, oh, I want the space to be really, really bright. Now, if you look at this two picture here, what does it really mean bright, right? So here you can see here is two different types of brightness. We have the main light source that is shown over here that's very, very bright. But if we look at the primary focus, the painting and the dining tables are not bright, but you feel like all you see the brightness, all the glare coming from this chandelier light source, right? But how we execute it is that we call it layers of light. Okay, so we have, first of all, we dim down the chandelier so it's nicely, you can appreciate it as an art piece. For example, if you're gonna buy a Artimedy chandelier, it's expensive, but you want to treat it as artwork that's not glary to look at and you can appreciate it. At the same time, we're gonna create some task lighting. I'm gonna shine it on this table, right? You can see your food. That's how you create that dramatic dining effect. And at the same time, we're going to shine some spotlight to the background. So as you can see, you have the foreground being lit up, the midground is dark, and background is bright. So that's how you create a layers, we call it layers of lighting. Clean this up. Okay, and at the same time that, this space, it just feels more comfortable and more dynamic, right? And compared with the left-hand side, the whole space just looks flat. But they're both bright, but bright from a different perspective.
That is so dramatic. I have to say, that is so dramatic, the difference.
Yeah.
Bright, but where do you want it to be bright? On the food.
Exactly.
What you're eating, on the artwork. And the chandelier is just overpoweringly glaring. That says so much to me.
Yeah. So we have a rule of thumb as that we light the table, but we don't light the floor. Okay. And then we try to light table and walls as much as possible, because as a human, we look forward, we don't look downward. So it's always a good idea to light, we call it vertical luminance. Vertical luminance meaning to put the lights on the vertical surface instead of horizontal surface. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the two photos looks like the difference between eating at a diner and eating at a fine quality restaurant.
Exactly.
Just from the lighting, it's night and day.
And as I said, the construction costs only the total budget of 5%. And this 5% can make a night and day difference, right? But the funny thing is that the first thing first that the client cuts the budget is lighting. That's the first thing they cut. All they know is that, okay, it lights up. Okay, that's good enough. But they have no idea that how the light can transform the space and how well it can make the decor more valuable, right? Like you have a nice table, you're gonna have a nice painting, you're gonna have a nice marble material. And with this single point light source, it's just gonna look flat. It doesn't look dramatic, not much of a contrast at all, right? So if you're an interior designer, usually for lighting design, we will go through two types of route. Okay, we call it illuminator engineer or electrical engineer, and then we have the lighting designer. Okay, so we are more of the artsy side, not the engineering side. Okay, so but we both have we kind of both achieving the same. We're trying to do the same thing, but we execute it differently. So how electrical engineer, what they will do is we call it a vertical luminance. So we will look at this, horizontal luminance. We'll look at the space and see, okay, we're gonna use this light here. As you can see, there's a Juno track light. And is this light bright enough for the space? So what they do is that, as you can see those pinpoint, they call it a grid system. They will put the light source there and light it out evenly. Okay, so we don't know what's going on, what's gonna be happening in the space. So we call it general illuminance. Okay, and so this is how we will light it up. Is we will light up based on the subject and what's gonna be displayed, and then we'll pinpoint individually. So here's an example. If you leave it to a electrical engineer, this kind of result you're gonna get. So so it's gonna be, we call it a grid system pot light, as you can see on the ceiling, and it looks well lit. It's nice, right? And I mean, everything looks nice and bright. But how lighting designer will do is that, first of all, we will make the floor darker. So in that case, it creates more dramatic effect. It creates more layers now, and at the same time, we will brighten up that wall. I don't know if you can see a difference. And so it actually makes the ceiling taller and space is bigger. Okay. And here's just, as you can see, the same photo, but this space just feels taller. So we use something we call a wall washer, that we wash that entire wall. You don't see that scallop. You don't get the dark corner. You know, so this is one of the strategic planning we use quite often. We call it selective illuminance, and these one is just a general illuminance. They don't plan ahead of time. Okay, and so in terms of the lighting design, we use some software called Dialogs. Okay, so if let's say Peter, give me a drawing of a CAD file, we will be able to create this rendering, as you can see here, that this is an actual photo at the bottom, this is a rendering at the top. We can pinpoint we can predict what's going to be happening. Before this, that interior designer kind of has to guess what's going to be happening before the projects, I mean, before they flip on the switch. Everything has to be going through a guesswork. But we will be able to go use the lighting software in order to visualize it. Okay, so we put light where it needs to be, not like where it's not needed. So as you can see, you know, we point the light source only on the rack, not to a background. Okay, so this will be something that typically an interior designer will provided us, you know, a CAD drawing and then maybe a SketchUp file. And so this is actually one of Peter's project called Lee Chen Bistro. It's also in Toronto, Aurora. In this lighting rendering, that once we provide them, they actually made a pretty major decision here. As you can see that originally on the original design, there's a big chandelier here, you know. But once we show them the rendering, they say, oh, actually this ceiling is a very, very nice ceiling feature. Why do we want to cover up this nice ceiling feature? So they actually took the chandelier out and saved in the budget, and you know, the space looks much more cleaner and less clustered, you know. As you can see this from another perspective. So this chandelier actually not just saved in the budget and design resell, and also saved the clients money as well. Also some of the other one. Okay, we work with the interior design to plan out how to highlight this. Like we can, again, we can do it from the rendering, can understand how we're gonna plan it ahead of time. Okay, so what's the purpose? When we do lighting design, so here are the main key things we have to think about before we plan ahead. First of all, we have to know what's the what's the minimum requirement, what's the purpose of these area we're trying to do, right? Every room that has every space has their minimum light level requirement. So this will definitely will be the basic level provided by the electrical engineer, that there's a general luminance. These are the building code we have to meet, okay? And then the second of all, we have to provide the perception of space. As you can see from my previous example, that this space is more three-dimensional. As you can see here, we have, again, we're using the same idea as we have a light and dark. We have light and dark and light. So it's it shows more depth here through with the lighting. And another one was to use the light to guide your visual path. Right, it's also called a visual hierarchy. So in the stage lighting, we always put the main light source to the main character, right? So these same idea that we want to put the light on the most feature piece or dining table or a feature wall that we want to highlight. And then with the light levels, we can guide your eyes in the space, okay? And also we have to set the mood, okay? And when you think about the mood, and we have three sub consideration as that are you looking for high key or low key? High key would be something more on let's say a more hype space, for example, a gym or a hospital or offices. And low key would be something more cozy, like for example, like residential bars and dining scene, right? So these are we call high key and low key scene. And also we have to consider about the color, right? If you have marble, in this scenario, in this case, sorry about that. In this case, that we'll recommend using a colder color temperature instead of warmer color temperature based on your subject or material you're trying to light up. Okay. And most importantly here is that we want to ensure that when the customer enters the space, they feel the visual comfort. And when we say visual comfort, glare is definitely one of the biggest problem we try to eliminate and try to solve. Okay, for example, here we have two restaurants here that we have a Pickle Barrel in Brookdale, and then we have a Cheesecake Factory. And as you can see here, Pickle Barrel is like this poly it casts a lot of glare into your eyes once you walk into space. And at the same time, that space is not very well lit. And how the Cheesecake Factory here, they use a lot of indirect lighting, that there's a lot of cove light and some of these diffuse chandelier, okay? And most importantly, you see here that every single table here has a very, very nice little spot on the table. And it gives that candlelight effect, right? And when we mention about glare, and poly, we're using poly here as an example, is that because poly use it quite often in the dining scene, is that the cutout angle is 25 degrees. So if you look upward in the eyes, that you try to choose your right beam angle, but usually the detail like this, we will help interior designer to choose the right types of fixture. Okay, Do you want, so far so good? Like, I feel I'm going a little bit fast. Like,
It's
any questions so
fascinating.
far? You want to review a little bit? I feel I'm going too fast here.
What I didn't get was the last screen, the 25%.
Okay.
Can you elaborate this one a little bit more?
Yes. So as you can see here, there's two types of light source here. Okay. If you look at here, this type we call it a deep baffle light. Okay. Let me show you a example here. Let me get off the screen. So sorry, let me pull up the spec sheet here. So as you can see, this type of light, this light source is very, very deep. And then there's a baffle around it. So it illuminates the glare. So the light source is very well hidden inside. So if we go back to this this diagram here, the light actually, when it tucks in, and the light will cut off the glare, the light distribution towards a relatively narrower beam angle in comparison with the right side. So the right side is, we call it a slim panel light. And these are actually contractors' favorite. So I don't know if you see, if you go to Home Depot or any sort of electrical supply store, these light, as you can see, the light source on the surface, and they're not deep recess. And these are the light that will gives you the glare. So when you choose your light source, make sure and take that into consideration. So when the light source on the surface level, these are the glare you will see.
Good, thank you. Now I understand. Now, now it's clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so speaking about choosing the fixture, okay, we have to classify two types of lighting. We call it a decorative lighting and architectural lighting. So decorative lighting, think about as it's a jewelry piece. Okay, as a woman, you want to put a nice necklace or a jewelry that you want to showcase. And architectural lighting is kind of like a makeup. You don't want to be noticed too much, and so is inconspicuous. Okay, so so when I say jewelries, it's kind of like you want to appreciate this piece. And as like my previous example there, the chandelier, it shouldn't be too bright. It should be subtle, but at the same time you can appreciate. And it's a statement piece. Okay. And so when we talk to an interior designer, that as a lighting designer, we're kind of like a makeup artist. Okay. And then they are a plastic surgeon because they design the whole contour of the facial. It's kind of like how they design the flow of the space. Okay, and from this example here, that they will create the space, and then we will put up the light and shadow. That's kind of like in idea as a makeup artist. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. It's a little bit of a harder concept to get it, but yeah, when we light up the space, like our lighting will show the contour, makes the object more, you can show the line. So it's kind of like when you put on your makeup, your facial is more three-dimensional. Again, that with the with all the bean shape, it's kind of like your brushes, right? I think female will get this a little bit better. But yeah, so like with all these brushes, and it will help you to like shoot on the light on the on your subject, right? For example, we have this wall washer is kind of like your foundation. You want to light up this entire wall nice and even. And then if you have a bad wall washer, this kind of like it's like you didn't put it's not it's like the wall is not evenly lit. It's not as soft. Okay, and with the spotlight, you know, you have to look at in terms of what kinds of beam shape and to shoot on the subject. And as you can see here, we have this wing screen, right? We're gonna choose certain beam angle. We're going to calculate that to shoot on the subject. And not all the beam qualities are all the same. If you can see here, these are a comparison of different vendors. That we have a spot that's nicely softened out, and we have some of them that you can see this big scallop. So not all when you choose your lighting spec, not everybody's are the same. And so the bad example, again, go back to this scenario that the bad beam spot, if you see this scallop, this is what you're gonna see on the wall. And if you have a nice soft scallop, nice and soft spot, that this wall will be nice and even smooth it out. You won't notice this beam spot too much. Okay, and so this will be regarding to the light quality itself. And we're gonna move on to the next part is a little bit more technical regarding to colors. Colors, so everybody knows that when we choose the light source, we have different color temperature we can choose. For example, we have the 2000, 27K, 3000, 4000. These are warm light and towards the cold light. I don't know if you, when you look at when you choose your light source, most of the light bulb or LED light should show these numbers, shows as how warm or how cold the light source is. But today we're also gonna bring out something else. We call it color rendering index. That means how well the color shows under this light. So if you look at this diagram that from we call it CRI 70 to CRI 95, you can see 95 shows the color is more vivid. And sorry. Yeah. Hold on. Sorry, I'm missing a slide here. Oh, here. Yeah. So if we go back to the old days, that CFL is like a street lamp. So these we call like a fluorescent. So these are fluorescent lights, CFL. These are we call a CRI 70. So if you put a food under the fluorescent light, they're gonna look more pale in comparison with the halogen lamp. So that's this is one of the challenges for the lighting industry that people want to overcome, is that, oh, I don't like LED, they look so bluey. But actually that's not true. The color temperature, we can solve that, but at the same time now we can get it more saturated, just like halogen light now. Okay, so as you can see, this space is very, very warm, and everything's light up with LED. This is actually one of Peter's project as well. So the technology is actually there, that it's really, really mature now, that please don't afraid of using LED. And in Canada, that we still have a lot of customers saying that, oh, I don't like LED because it's very blue. But yeah, the technology is there already. Yeah. This is another example that from a very, if you compare the top and bottom color, they're both same color temperature, but again, different color saturation. If you can see the purple, actually purple is one of the colors really hard to show. These are actually all LED, as you can see on this picture. And then we can really specify what types of color we really want to emphasize, especially on the supermarket, that on produce section, we will actually specify a certain color to make the food more saturated on red and green. And even on the bread, we'll also try to make the bread more saturated. So we can actually pinpoint based on certain subject and using certain color. And that's actually part of the reason why if you go to shopping if you buy clothing at a shopping mall, we do this a lot in the changing room. Now we actually use a very, very saturated light. That's why a lot of people, when they go shopping, the changing, they look certain way, but when they get out of the shopping mall, the clothes looks completely different color too.
I have to get my other stuff.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So this is actually how advanced we are nowadays. We can do the LED to choose the light source, choose the color for designated
Get the
subject.
key put in the box.
Sorry.
Go ahead. That was just
Okay.
somebody, background.
Yeah. Okay. So so what's the benefit of choosing a color? Like for example, in terms of in a shopping mall space, hold on. Like for example, this is one of Peter's project, Real Fruit Bubble Tea, right? And in this space, they really want to showcase how fresh their food are. So with the new LED light source, that we can really make the pink color pops out. Let me see. I have a better example here. Sorry, just one sec. I have a photo that in this stretch. One sec, sorry. I really want to showcase this because this is I don't know why I didn't include in this presentation. Basically, we use the color to make that particular store pops out a lot in that whole mall stretch. If you look in some other stores, they look the color looks more greenish, but you wouldn't really paying attention if you put them side by side. I'm sorry, I couldn't find it right now, but yeah, it's a very, very nice piece. I don't know if I can show it. Jeez, sorry, this is got a little hiccup here. Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't find it right now, but yeah, like again, produce, fish, right? These are very, very, this might be a little bit far from the interior design, but we do use lighting to kind of emphasizing on the subject. And especially now, like on restaurant, it's very important that you want to make your food Instagrammable. That people nowadays really like to post their food on their Instagram, so the color saturation, it really makes the food pops. And when they see a nice photo from their friends' Instagram, and they will be like, oh, where did you go to this restaurant? So it's a very good marketing feature as well. Right, especially like girls love to take photos, like pink light, it really helps. And compared to the right side, it's very dull. Yeah. Yeah, so that would be more of the lighting theory on top. I think it doesn't bore too much of you. I don't know. The remaining of it will be more on the portfolio in terms of how the other projects go. Do you have any questions so far regarding to the choosing the light source or colors?
You had touched on halogen versus LED.
Yes.
What would make you go with a halogen light unless you're doing like surgery?
So the thing about halogen lamps right now is actually a lot of states are actually restricting them restricting vendor to sell it. You actually can't
Oh.
get it sometimes. That's one of the downside is, for example, in Canada, I know you can still get halogen, but you cannot get incandescent bulb.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one of it. And obviously the energy efficiency that we don't, I mean, everybody kind of knows about it, that the power consumption is very low. And most importantly, it doesn't create heat, you know, especially on food or art gallery. Heat is a major concern in regarding to preserving the painting or the food. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also the fluorescent aspect, they are very efficient, but again, fluorescent, first of all, they don't have fluorescent spotlight. They only have fluorescent, we call it general lighting. It's like a tube or a light bulb, but they don't actually create a spotlight. But LED itself, we have a variety of spotlight or general lighting that you can achieve. All I'm trying to say here is that the technology is there, and so do not afraid of trying to use it.
Peter, I
And is it,
Oh.
go ahead, Lois.
I have a question. If I buy a chandelier for a client, Peter, and it has an LED light in it that's unattractive, is that something you can change, or that's it? You know, if it's like a ring chandelier, let's say, and inside the ring they've got an LED light, and it's just not like the ones you've been showing. These are
I would use a example here for you. You mentioned about ring chandelier. I just gonna randomly open this up. So the benefit of LED nowadays is really that you cannot create these shape at all before. With LED, you can create ring, you can create squares, you can create many types of shape. But then when you're choosing the chandelier, there's two major type. We call it we call it integrated light source, and and also the other type is called a light bulb light source, meaning that these light sources are replaceable. For example, you can see here, these are still traditional light bulb, but you can insert a LED bulb versus these type. These are non-interchangeable. Basically once the light source went out, you require an electrician to replace the electrical components in it. So in order to answer your question, first of all, you have to look at what's the reason why you want to change out the light source. Is it because the wrong color? Or what is it?
Yeah, that the light is unattractive. It has that, it has that
blue color, very cold color.
It's hard for me to say. It's the feeling. I don't like the feeling of them. You know more than I do about whether it's the color or what, but I don't like the feeling of them, and neither does my client. And we're looking for a nice ring chandelier. And I was just thinking, if we found something we liked, if you could change out the LED strip, like to be something, more appealing.
Do
you ever do custom light? Do you ever like customize?
Yeah, we do. But I'm just trying to understand what is it that you don't like, and what are you trying to achieve here? That's all I'm trying to understand here. Can you elaborate a little bit more? What do you don't like about it?
Well, fluorescent, I can't stand. I can't bear to be under it. I feel like it's eating me up.
Okay.
I just feel like it's unhealthy.
Okay.
And LED, there's something about it too that it just jangles a little bit. You know what I mean? Whereas the old incandescent light
Yeah.
is comfortable to be around, and it's flattering
I see.
and easy on the eyes. And I'm very interested in what you were showing when you had the 3 rows of faces that that you could, and you, that, yes, here.
Yeah.
Like this, the one on the left is sort of what we're used to as LED light.
Right.
And it's just, you can't stay under it for very long.
I see.
It's just
So
irritating. So if what's the difference between the 70 and the 95 technically? What's the difference?
So 70 would be in the fluorescent range, as I said, the 70, that's the CRI 70.
Yeah.
And the CRI 100 would be the halogen lamp. But right now we can achieve the CRI 97 with LED. So what I'm trying to say is that when you choose your chandelier, choose the warmer color temperature as you can. For example, if we go to this website, if we're going to shop around and you're going to choose a lighting fixture for a client, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And for example, this page, if we go under specification, this will say, this shows you that this color is 3000 Kelvin and CRI 90, okay? So if we look at this number and we go back to this diagram, so we're gonna look at somewhere close to this middle row on the right side. Mm-hmm. So this is 3000 K and then CRI 90. So that means it's relatively warm and it's very colorful for this particular light. But I think what you're trying to say is that the light source is bright and cold, and they're not as warm as the incandescent light. So definitely, I would suggest you first thing first to try it out is to install a dimmer. Okay, so try to lower down the brightness first of all, because most of the LED light source, they are very aggressive, as that they are very, very bright. Okay, so first thing first, definitely I will try it out as a dimmer, see how you like it. If not, if it's still too, you feel discomfort, I'll look into to choose to request a lower color temperature from the vendor. Mm-hmm. Right? So you would like when you request a lower color temperature, that means the light source is warmer. For example, if you see this restaurant, this is 25K instead of 3K, 3000 Kelvin. So this is a 25K. So it's very, very warm.
Thank you. That explains a lot, because this particular application, the husband uses the chandelier over the dining table for work, and he wants it bright. And the wife wants it soft for dinner parties.
Right.
So we've got a dimmer situation, but it has to be able to go bright.
Yes.
Because the husband's always saying there isn't enough light. You know, it's one of those things. She has the light set throughout the house just the way she wants it. And the husband walks home and goes, blam.
Right.
All the lights go up.
This is really goes back to this scenario. This is a dining scenario, actually. We set it up in our showroom, right? If you have the middle piece here, that's a chandelier is very bright. Again, your table is still not bright enough, but you feel there's a lot of glare going on. So my suggestion really is I will put 2 spotlight. So as you mentioned that they would like to work on a dining table, I'll put task lighting on the dining table. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you have this nice chandelier that shows very, very warm. It doesn't have to be this one, but you can be any, like the ring chandelier you like, you know, but at the same time, make sure dim it down, not as bright as this one. Mm-hmm. Right? So,
okay.
So that this is the reason why I on this particular slide I try to explain that you have to differentiate the decorative lighting and architectural lighting. Pot light is considered as the architectural lighting that you try to hide it, but at the same time it has to serve a function.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you actually have to use a combination of a decorative light and architectural lighting at the same time.
Okay, I'll go back and look at the site and see where the pot lights are, and maybe I need to replace them for something more directional.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a ceiling plan, feel free to send it over to my email. I can help you take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna jump to the more on the portfolio part, how we execute each part. So this is also designed by Peter, that design. It's called Lena Cuisine in Ontario. And this is a Thai restaurant and with a bar scene, right? So how we design it here, first of all, is that the client, they have this very nice wall feature. They have it custom made, and we first of all we embedded a strip light source in it. So this is actually a custom piece that we have strip light on every single panel. So it's kind of act as a wall sconce, and then it really showcases how nice the color it is. And at the same time, we have these task lighting again. We have this pot light shining down, and you'll be surprised that typically you will think about this ceiling is actually about 16 feet high, but the pot light we use here is only 6 watt because we use a very narrow beam angle. When you have a narrow beam angle, you actually don't need it that bright. The lower power will actually do. So so in this case, you can see again the wall feature is well lit. The dining table, the bar is very well lit, and we also have some under the bar light going on here. So again, if we look at this image, we have layers going on. We have the background's light. We have some dark. So this is really where the contrast is being happening. So it's not all flat as a single light source. Okay. And this is from the other perspective. So again, this is from the other angle. We have these, like, as you can see here, every single table has a very narrow spot that's being very well lit, and it creates that very dramatic effect. With this deep recessed light, you don't see the glare at all. Okay, and in this scenario is that we use a track light on this hotel lobby here in the background. Typical spotlight track light you will think about as it will give a spotlight look, but we have the ability to insert, and we call it a wall wash filter. So if you can look at background this wall, it doesn't give that spotlight look, but it washes the entire wall very nicely. And at the same time, we have a spotlight shining down on these globe. These are actually mobile fixture. This ball will go up and down, and it creates a very nice wavy look. Let me see. I might be able to find a video for it. Let me see.
Now the wall washer gets rid of the spotlights on the wall, but does it actually do anything for lighting the room beyond the wall?
Absolutely, yeah. So
okay,
because we're trying, actually, you know, let me go back to this image here.
Mm.
Let me see if I have a better photo. Because if you see here that when you light up the wall, it actually gives a sense of it's actually brighter than lighting up the floor. If you can see, this space is let me go down. Where'd I go? Jeez. Okay, let's just look at this photo here. That, you know, like we light up the whole wall, so you know it visually that it gives it brightness, but on numbers, if we look at based on calculate based on as an engineer, it's not really bright because you see the middle floor area is all dark. This is all dark. But at the same time, we light up the where it needs to be. That's what I'm trying to say is that we have to light up where it needs to be, not just on the empty floor.
So you control the spillage of the light
Exactly.
to make a focal point.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you see here that this is how we execute it, is that we hide these light source in here and we shine it in the center, where the globe is. But the background, I don't have too much photo for this project. Sorry, it was remotely. It was done remotely, but yeah. Where can I find it? Jeez. Shoot, oh, it's too far back. But yeah, but as all I'm trying to say is that yeah, when you put light where it needs to be, especially vertical luminance, and is actually is going to be bright. Yeah, better. It serves a better purpose than shining the light on the floor. Okay. And on the Ignima restaurant here, again, the challenges here is to light up the mosaic tile, but at the same time, if we choose a conventional spotlight, these mosaic tile, again, you will see the scallop. So using wall washer here is most ideal. That these mosaic tile is going to be evenly lit. So on the right hand side, on the left hand side, and on the ceiling here, we use a strip light to light up the ceiling mosaic tile. So this is actually quite challenging that we want to we install a canopy here and let the light source glow from the side. And we use a track light here to light up individual table because we want to make sure that we want to make the mosaic look clean. We don't have anything on it. So the track light is coming from the side. And also that there's quite a layers of going on. So in terms of strip light, we have strip light going around here, and then we have strip light going along the skirt inside, and then we have another strip light under this curtain. So putting cove lighting under a curtain, this is actually one of the techniques I really like to use, because the drapery it just really looks dramatic. It looks more like a Renaissance painting that, you know, gives that.
Does that cause fire code issues when you do that?
No, because these are strip light.
Okay, so there's no heat from them, so it doesn't affect fire code. I can put fabric and light together.
They are still they are still quite a distance, but they're not like directly in contact with the fabric. So
okay,
you don't really have to worry about that too much. And you know, strip light, they're around 50 Celsius, so they're not that hot.
okay.
So it's not to the boiling point yet. Yeah.
Peter, I have to go to a 7 o'clock Zoom meeting.
Okay.
And it's 6:58. So I'm not going to push you to wrap up. I have learned so much. Thank you very much. There were a couple of really key points in there for me. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. Thank you, Peter. Yep, for putting this together. And I'm just going to say good night, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
And I'll send you the link to our YouTube channel.
Perfect. Thank you, Terry. Okay.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. And yeah, so this will be another project we did for a salon, and we have the client themselves is actually their friends can do these they're graffiti artists, and again we use that, you know, the track light here to highlight these graffiti. Again, you don't notice that scallop that much. Is very nicely blended in, and everything here you see is very sharp because we have very high contrast going on. And as you can see, this mirror all very sharp contour. And so this spotlight actually shows up all the sparkles in the details. You know, and let's see. And this one, oh, this project is quite interesting. Is that is a Spoke Club in Toronto, and it's a more of a art gallery theme. That what they want to do is that they want the light source to match the daylight. So we have this special track light that you can choose the color temperature by this remote, and so this, for the artist, it actually gives them another dimensions in terms of how they want to present their painting. So if you have a very warm color temperature subject, for example, if you have a painting that's the subject is let's say falls or spring, falls or autumn. So obviously your subject is going to be very warm. So you can choose a warmer color temperature. And if you have, for example, something like for Canadian, we really like to paint the iceberg for group of 7. Yeah, that in that case, we'll use a very cold color temperature to light on the subject. So with this particular track light, you can choose the color temperature and dim them individually to showcase each painting. Okay, and go back to sorry, this one. This project, what we're challenging on is we work with the interior designer to design a mailwork to showcase how to light up this like aurora effect. And with this particular light source, we use this LED flexible neon strip that when you see a light source is not the typical dots of a strip light you're gonna see. These are like they are covered with silicone. So this gives a very nice diffuse glow on the ceiling. And yeah, so you know, you're not gonna see the individual dot, and this just looks very nicely evenly lit and shine down. Yeah. This one. Oh, here I found it. Okay, so this is the example I'm trying to show. So as you can see here, this is in Toronto's Yorkdale Mall, and when I say using the pink light, so as like, sorry, not pink light, but like when the light is warmer in this whole retail stretch, if you see kernels, they use a very cold color temperatures. Everything's blue and cold. And when you see warm here, it just really grabs attention throughout the whole mall, and very well lit, right? So it's like right away, if you look at it, you're gonna pay attention to real fruit bubble tea right away. Yeah. So this is like really how important that, like for example, the facade here, and even inside that, we're using this wall washer that you see the inside corner, every single corner is very well lit. And versus kernels, the corner is all dark. So this is the benefit of using a wall washer, and you feel the space is actually taller than the other stores. Yeah, and most importantly is that this is one of the most important point, that is that when you finish your project, make sure always go aim your light. When after a contractor installing the track light, they never ever aim the track lights. So be sure to go on the ladder, get on a ladder and point where lights needs to be, because contractor will never ever do that for you. So be sure to try to get involved in the just pay a little bit of attention to detail in terms of where the light source is aiming. So that, yeah, that's the last bits and pieces how I do our design process. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my presentation here today.
That was fabulous. Do we have any, if everyone would like to turn their microphones on, we can start thanking, questioning, putting Peter to the test.
Yeah, I know I touched very briefly on everything a little bit. I know it's very, very general. But yeah, yeah, feel free to contact me. If you like to become a lighting designer, there's a free software you can play around with. This is a completely free lighting rendering software. Here. Oh, wait. So this is a lighting rendering software, and it's completely free. And this is the software you use to create this very, very nice. Where's my presentation? Did I close it? Oh my god. Oh, here. Yeah, that's the software we use to create this the right lighting rendering here, and it's a free software. So as you can see, there's a photo and there's a rendering, and yeah.
I'm just going to stick that up in the chat room. The it was dialux.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dialux.com. Yeah. And this is a free software. And on YouTube, there's lots of tutorial teaches you how to do it, how to build up the space. So this software really helps you. It helps me and helps Peter Yip as well, is that they can visualize it before the project started, right? Like moving a chisel is more expensive than moving a mouse, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is our technique.
That's amazing.
So any questions? Okay.
All right. Well, if we don't have any questions, I just want to thank you, Peter. This was fabulous. It will be up on our YouTube channel by next week for anyone that wants to go back and see some of the ideas that Peter shared with us. If there's no other questions, we're going to wrap it up for the evening. But Peter and Peter, thank you both so much. This was fascinating. I'm, as not being an interior designer, I've always thought what you guys did was impossible, but now to see the different levels and things that you have to go through to create those spaces, I just walk in, I'm like, okay, I'm at home. And not realizing how much work went into the backside of that, from the lighting to the furniture shape to the textures. It's wow. Thank you. Thank you both for making the world a better place.
Thank you. So thank you, Peter. Yeah.
Thank you.
We had comments come in. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Peter. We just said this was awesome. Thank you so much for Melissa. And Wei Chen Liu said, thank you very much, Peter. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, that everyone really appreciated this, even if they're too shy to turn their microphones on.
Okay. Okay. Everyone have a good night. Thank you.
All right. And Daniel says you're fabulous, Peter. So yeah. Thank you all for joining us
Thank
this
you.
evening. Watch your emails for future member to members and Peter Mal and Vyvyd Lighting. We thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.